Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. Rolling out hour number 2, the red carpet, baby. It's Sharp and Shapiro on a Wednesday. Chris Wynn also joining us as our guest host in studio today. We got a lot more to get to. Also, this controversy with Donald Trump and his golf courses that me and JD have gotten into the last couple days. Can you do whatever you want on a golf course if you own it? We did a little bit of poll, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We got Tim Donaghy coming up in hour number 3 talking about a gambling controversy in sports. But you know what? It's time for Stretch Sanders to be in. Stretch, I haven't seen you in a few weeks. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Minister Stretch joining us here. And I always like to start off when you come in by saying this. We might have our disagreements when it comes to specific issues, but you are a really good man. In fact, you live in the same complex I live in, and you are helping out people, giving people free food, and you've helped so many people in this community. So you're a good man, and you got a great heart, and don't misconstrue that. If we disagree on some subjects, I still have a tremendous amount of respect for you. So I just want to make that clear.
Bless you, brother.
And I'm not saying that because you're twice my size and you can kick my ass. I'm saying that because you really are a good dude and I respect you a great deal. So let's talk about this. For a couple weeks ago, you came on our show. You broke a little bit of news. You disagree with, obviously, the homeless ordinance, as I do as well. We agree on this, that Carolyn Goodman put into place where if you're homeless, you could be fined up to $1,000 and go to jail for 6 months. It's ridiculous. We all agree on that. So you're taking MLK Day, you're shutting down Fremont Street, and you're protesting. I disagree with you on the way you're going about it, but has anything changed in the last couple weeks? I know that you've made some TV appearances coming on our show, which is awesome. I'm glad that we're helping spread the word.
Yeah, very cool.
We're glad to do that. Have you changed your stance at all? Do you still plan on not only protesting and shutting down Fremont Street, but going to jail and committing a crime? You're still okay with that?
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you guys for always having me on.
Sure.
Truly appreciative of the platform. So nothing has changed. If anything, things have increased. So right now we're working on a few national speakers. One we have actually solidified, but we can't reveal until we get some things, some T's crossed.
Don't tell me Al
I's
Sharpton.
dots.
I'm going to be angry at you if it's Al Sharpton.
I'm not going to tell you who it is yet.
Fine.
We still got to cross some T's, dot some I's, but we do
Jesse
have
Jackson.
We do have a confirmation.
Okay.
And so we believe.
And this is a well-known speaker nationally.
Well-known national person, legendary.
Well, I'll tell
iconic.
you what. I'll make an offer to you. We would love to promote it, and if you can get this person to come on our show with you, we would gladly do that to promote the event.
Right on.
Or
So
the protest.
As we get things closer, that we will reveal who this person is and who
Is it
these
J-Lo?
persons.
No,
keep
okay.
naming.
All right, fine.
But I just threw it out to let you know that
LeBron James.
that this thing has amplified and it's increased. No doubt that we're going to go to Fremont Street. And I think the narrative, something I want to touch on, because now one of the word on the streets that I think is preventing people to want to support is that they're going to hurt businesses. Number one, we're not going out to hurt any businesses.
You're not going out to do that, but Stretch, you are.
Right. But also, too, understand this. A lot of those businesses downtown, I say a lot, not all, supported this ordinance. That's number one. But even though we know they supported it, I understand for them, it's just about protecting their business and making sure that they can have patrons come in without being exposed to certain things and certain elements. But, like I said, I agree that people need to get off the street. I agree that we need to give folks places to go. But they need to get housed and they need to get resources, not jail sentences and fines. So with that being said, my mission, I can't be concerned about who's going to take the hit in the process of us trying to bring forth change.
Okay, we agree. As far as this ordinance and we want to get homeless people off the streets, I'm in total agreement with you. Here's where we disagree. I don't think you're going about it the right way. And that is I appreciate your passion and what you're trying to do. Okay, I appreciate your passion. I really do, because I know you have a good heart. Here's the problem with what you're doing, in my personal opinion. When you close down Fremont Street, first of all, let's start with the arrests. What good does that do to go to jail? You're costing the taxpayer money, number one. There are better things that our Metro police officers could be doing. Same thing as arresting a homeless person. There's better things they could be doing. I don't think going to jail is going to solve your problem, number two. You're just going to annoy a lot of people. Number three, kids that are going to school, that are leaving school, people that are going to work, hardworking Americans that are going to work. You are going to block traffic, and you are going to affect their daily schedule, could affect their job security. I think that's fair to say. And also the businesses downtown. Now, I don't think many of those businesses are going to be struggling if they have one day where their sales are cut 50%. But with that being said, you're still affecting businesses there. Why do you have to go to the extent of being arrested and shutting down streets and shutting down Fremont Street? on a very special day as MLK Day. Why? Because I think, and we'll take some phone calls on this at 702-257-5396. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you agree with Stretch. The number to call again, 257-5396. Go ahead, Stretch.
Dr. King said, one has the right to disobey an unjust law if his conscience tells him it's unjust. If the law states that people who are camping in public property, whether it's streets, sidewalk, etc., will be arrested if beds aren't available, fine. If beds aren't available, then we're going to go camp in that street. Now, obviously, we know it's illegal. They're not going to just let us camp off in the street. So because of that, we're going to get arrested. So the intent is for us to break that unjust law. MLK Jr. stated this. That was one of his most profound quotes. If something is unjust, you break it. Slavery. When we were leaving slavery, you had people who say, why escape? We're part of the labor. And so you justify legal don't mean right. Jim Crow. Why boycott the bus? Why not? We can ride on the back. At least we can still ride. If we boycott, they're going to lose money. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, any movement, people had to protest that movement. Somebody took a hit. But after 381 days of them boycotting that bus, they lost so much money, they had no choice
but
to give black people equality on the bus.
Here's my confusion to that. You think if you get arrested and you annoy a bunch of people, that all of a sudden Carolyn Goodman and the people that are working with her are going to say, you know what, that's Stretch Sanders, he's on to something. You know, the guy got arrested, he blocked some streets, he closed down Fremont Street. Geez, why don't we back up this ordinance and why don't we throw it in the garbage? You really think you protesting and shutting down Fremont Street is going to change her mind?
I think that taking a stand will put pressure on the state. I'm not going to do this with the intent. We're not naive to think that after the 20th, the ban's overturned, freedom's won. It doesn't work like that. Dr. King and his associates, they boycotted for 381 days. So when you do something, it can't be done for a day. We have to do this year round. So this is just step one. We're getting sidetracked and we're focusing so much on the action, but for every reaction, there's a reaction. So we're reacting by getting in the street, bringing awareness, being heard, raising the consciousness of the people, because we're so focused on the fact that business is going to be heard in downtown and this, but we're not thinking about and being compassionate about those who have nowhere else to go, mothers who sleep out there with their children. Now you're separating families, people who are on their one strike. Now you arrest them. Now they're going to be violating their parole. So it's bigger than just saying we have to look out for those who are business owners. I'm concerned about the least of these. I'm concerned about the poor. I'm concerned about those who don't have the luxury to get out of this hole. So because of that, I have to care about them first.
And I understand that. And like I said, I know it's coming from a good place. I want to get JD and Chris's take on this. Before I do that, we are joined by Minister Stretch Sanders. He is planning on shutting down Fremont Street in protest of the new homeless ordinance put forth. And we're taking your phone calls right now if you have a question or comment. Do you agree with Stretch? Do you think he's going about it the right way by protesting and shutting down Fremont Street and blocking streets? Or do you agree with my take in that, look, it's coming from a good place. Most of us disagree with the ordinance, but maybe he's going about it the wrong way. We're taking your phone calls right now. That number is 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Gentlemen, what do you make of this?
Stretch, when we last spoke, you had a goal of thousands of people. And obviously, since you've been on television, before, we were the first time you actually discussed this plan of yours, but then you went on television. Is thousands of people a realistic expectation at this point for you?
Absolutely. I think at this point, thousands, and once we have an opportunity to reveal who our special guests are, it's going to definitely be thousands. And so right now, and we're not focused on the special guests, we're focusing on getting those who are directly impacted and those who understand what those individuals involved. But we also understand by bringing in additional assistance will help amplify the story and also stamp it as being a serious issue. And so I think that we have to look at some things. Black people are always being told we're going about it the wrong way. What's the right way? When we was leaving slavery, we're going about it the wrong way. We boycotted the bus, we're going about it the wrong way. When we're marching and protesting, the same thing. King was arrested 34 times. King, you're going about it the wrong way. But if we look at history, by going about things the wrong way, we created the right opportunities for oppressed people. So I understand it may appear to be going about it the wrong way, but I'm looking at the bigger picture. And I look at history repeats itself. So anytime black people have went the wrong way or went about it the wrong way, it's about the right results.
Chris, go ahead.
So, Stretch, of course, this issue coming into the spotlight in the recent weeks here obviously begs the question to me and to the average person out there, because you think about the ordinance, you say, why are we criminalizing homelessness? Okay, why are we doing something as far as implementing a fine onto people who cannot afford to pay the fine? So my question to you is this, is the powers that be here in Las Vegas, whether it's the city council, whether it's Carolyn Goodman, whether it's whoever it is that's going to be able to implement this ordinance, has there been any movement whatsoever on their part to no longer go down this road? Has there been an effort at all by these people? Has there been any effort at all as far as the powers that be here in Las Vegas not to go down this road?
Well, Mayor Carolyn Goodman and the city council, they say that this has been long overdue, that they've tried resources and the goal is to get people to use the resources. But when I looked at history, because I'm a history person, Oscar Goodman years ago when he was the mayor tried to pass a similar ordinance that made it illegal for people to be, they call it street feeding, for folks to get food on the street and in parks. People like Gail Sacco and different others with Food Not Bombs end up suing. The ACLU Nevada joined forces. They took it over to the Supreme Court and got it overturned. So as I look at history, there have been the powers that be that have never really been pro people who are on the street. Now, that doesn't mean their intentions may not be right. I'm a person of intentions. I don't believe everybody that does something wrong wake up with the intent. But I do believe that good intentions still offend. So whether it appears that what they're doing is wrong, but in the heart is right, I got to go with the actions. So you could mean well, but your mean well has to match what you're doing. So I think that there could have been things that could have been done, could have been pro helping them, but I have to go with the obvious. And the obvious is people who are poor, people who are without homes are being criminalized for a condition they did not ask for.
Let me just give out the number again one more time. It's 257-5396. Joining us, it's Minister Stretch Sanders, planning on shutting down Fremont Street and on MLK Day in response to this homeless ordinance. He is going to go on, I guess you could say, a strike. Would you call it a strike? Would you call it, I guess, more of a protest?
It's a protest.
And we want to hear what some of the listeners think about this. 257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we start off with Michael? Michael, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. You're on with Stretch. Go ahead.
Good morning. I was a candidate in a challenged election against Mayor Goodman, who illegally disqualified me, and that's still in federal court. And when I saw this ordinance, it reminded me of the ordinance that went against the street performers, that they're trying to clear out everybody. Now, the problem here is the Constitution. You have a constitutional right to be anywhere in public. The mayor is against the Constitution, along with Michelle Fiore. And what has to happen is the Constitution has to be enforced here. I've been providing the homeless with signs protesting City of Las Vegas is unfair. And with those signs, they can't be arrested if they're in public protesting or campaigning.
Michael, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why is it that you think that they put this in the books? Why is it that they put something so outrageous, up to a $1,000 fine, and putting a homeless person in jail for 6 months? What do you think is their reasoning from this? Who is benefiting from it?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, the retailers and casinos want the streets cleared of street performers and the homeless. Now, Carol hit something on her financial disclosure to the Secretary of State. It's the prison that's south near Prem. They are going to overcrowd the county jails, and then they're going to privatize these people and put them in wholesale warehousing south of here. Now, this is all in the public record.
Right. You're talking about Gene? Is that what you're talking about?
I believe so.
Yeah,
It's about money, and it's about satisfying the casinos.
Well, Michael, isn't that, and by the way, Michael, I really do appreciate the phone call. Thank you. Isn't it usually about money? You know, we did have Oscar Goodman on the show. We had Carolyn Goodman on the show. I asked them both about this thing in Gene, and yes, it is going to happen. 257-5396. Let's go to Brandon. Brandon, you're next on the Vegas Take. You're on with Minister Stretch. Go ahead, Brandon.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
What's up, Brandon?
So I work for a construction company, and one of our projects is down here on Vegas Boulevard and Bonanza. You know, nice, wonderful area of town. We basically renovated a brand new building, and you know, there's homelessness all around here, of course. And you know, we open up this brand new building, and you know, we still have the same issues. I guess what's kind of frustrating, though, is, you know, I'll offer these guys water or food and, you know, or even work. And a lot of them just won't even take it. They would just straight up be honest and say I'd rather just have money for, drugs or alcohol, unfortunately.
Can we let Brandon stay on the line for a second? You just brought up a very good point. I want Stretch to respond to that, Brandon. You heard what Brandon just said. He said he offers people food and water, and they say they rather have money, possibly for drugs or alcohol. Stretch, what do you say to that?
So I agree, and that goes back to the mental illness part. I believe that there are some people out there who will be given help and who will resist it. Now, we say because they rather use it for drugs and alcohol. Let's deal with that. Let's address that. So that's why when I try to go out and serve, before we give out anything, we try to encourage people. What we've been doing recently, my wife has been putting our food in containers. We write a positive message on the container. We're trying to lift the consciousness, enlighten the mentality, because as the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So their mindsets have been filled where they want to do drugs. And I'm not saying all, but they want to drink alcohol. So therefore, let's deal with that. What we tend to do is we judge that. And we say, oh, they don't want help. They just want to get high and drink. Well, let's address that. Let's still put them in homes. Let's get them rehab. Anybody that drinks heavy or is on drugs, that's to cope with something. What are they coping with? Were they abused? Were they hurt? Were they depressed? What's going on with that? So
Absolutely.
we still are dealing with the fruit and not the root. And like I said, deal with the root, not the fruit. So I agree. People can want those conditions, but we have to do what it takes to change that condition, and it starts with the mentality.
And I agree with that. Brandon, do you want to respond to that?
I do. And you are correct. Not all, homeless people have that mentality. The fear that I have, though, is like, say we build a homeless shelter, offering, help for most of these unfortunate people. What's to prevent homeless people from other states like California and whatnot realizing, oh, hey, come to Las Vegas because this center is offering free food, free housing. And then all of a sudden, instead of a small local populace you got to deal with, now you're getting.
Well, that's fair. You're saying
epidemic.
people might. That's fair. And by the way, Brandon, we appreciate the phone call, and those are some fair comments.
Yeah,
there.
great call, Brandon.
He's basically saying that. What would you say to that? That people could be coming to Las Vegas for freebies.
Well, this is the thing. It's not about a freebie. We have to get out of that when we help people. It's a handout and look at it as a hand up. Most people don't want, whatever your race or whatever walk of life you come from, most people want actual assistance. Most of us are filled with so much pride that we don't like to even be given anything if it feels like a charity. So people are resisting our help. We have to look at how is it being given. Do we have a camera in their face? Are people around? Do they feel humiliated? No real person that I've run into typically resists his help. And even for those who are on drugs or alcohol that we may think, because they don't have a hat that says I'm an alcoholic, I'm on drugs, so you're assuming, they still have to eat at some point. They still have to have sanitary napkins at some point. So I think that what we can do is we create programs and we put things in place where part of the program is that there's a complete 6-month detox. You want to stay up in here, you have to be willing to get clean. There's spiritual classes. We doing yoga, we meditating, we praying. There's multiple things, workshops, trades. So get them active. The idle mind is the devil's workshop. So we have to fill that mind up so that way they can tap into who they are. And once you tap into who you are, you're going to release what you are a part of if it's negative.
The problem with that is where does that money come from to create these programs and to create all the infrastructure that you're discussing? So, and the real question to me is, how can you, what do you do with those who have no interest at all in helping themselves and getting better?
So this is the way it would work. We go out, we target the entire population who are on the street. We open the door. Those that come, then that's who we deal with. For those that don't, then we leave them where they are until they're ready. The point is that I've been trying to address with this whole ordinance, protest, and everything is that I'm not disagreeing that people who are without homes need to have assistance. My disagreement is how they're going about it. We can't say Stretch is going about it by getting in the street. No, the Goodmans and Cedric Creer and Michelle Fiore and so on and so on, they're going about it wrong by trying to give out jail sentences and build privatized prisons. So they're the ones who are wrong. What we're doing is right. And so therefore, what we need to do is the city of Las Vegas is one of the richest cities in the country. They have the resources. They have the funding. Clark County has funding. They give millions of dollars to build parks, statue parks. Why not build shelters? They building casinos. So it's a choice.
And I understand, and that's a fair opinion. Johnny, let's try to go to the bottom of the hour here so we could get to a few more calls if we can at that number 257-5396. Again, that number 702-257-5396. Let's go to Jay Jay, you are next on the Vegas Take. You're on with Minister Stretch. What do you make of all this, Jay?
Hello, guys. How you doing this
Good.
morning?
How you doing, Jay?
Okay, Brian, I want to thank you guys for the show. Brother Stretch, I've been trying to out and get in touch. You came on this show, and I wish you would leave some information at the end. You know, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here. I grew up in Southern California, and I've watched the homeless from the late '50s to what it is now, from drug addicts, alcoholics, sick people, and now up to these families and everything there is. And there were three missions there. There was the Union mission, the LA mission, and the Fred Jordan mission. And the most successful one I've seen out of all of them was the Fred Jordan mission. And what I noticed about him was he played both sides of the fence, with the mayor of Sam Yorkie up to, I guess, when he passed away, and with the business community. He always would tell the business community, you know, really, I prefer for you to give me supplies than to give me donate your money and stuff. So have you ever considered that? And I mean, I agree with what Brian's saying and what you're saying, but sometimes you gotta just play both sides of the fence to get your work did.
Okay, well, we understand where you're coming from there, Jay. Stretch, do you want to respond to that?
I understand there's times where we have to play both sides of the fence. But the fence I will never play both sides of is a fence that's immoral, unjust, unrighteous, and cruel. This is a fence I'm never going to play both sides. You had those who wanted to play both sides of slavery, both sides of Jim Crow, both sides of the war on drugs. And when you look at history now, those who are on the wrong side are being held accountable. People in the black community are still holding Bill Clinton accountable and Hillary Clinton calling us super predators and the 3-strike rule, but they was trying to play both sides of the fence. So you want to play the right side of the fence. And I think that I definitely can step out of self and see where the Mayor Goodman and the city council is coming from. In her mind, she wants to clean up downtown. I get it. My problem with the Goodman and with the city council is how they're going about it. What you're doing is wrong. If you want to get rid of the homelessness problem, you bring forth resources. So that side of the fence, I get it. But the side of the fence I can't stand on is saying, well, I understand the jail sentence. I understand the fines. I will never understand that because I don't understand criminalizing the poor. I'm
going to try to sneak in one more call before break. Sean, I have about 1 minute for you. You're on with Minister Stretch. Go ahead.
What's up, Sean?
Hey, what's up, Stretch?
How you doing,
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I think you're kind of misinterpreting the ordinance a little bit. They're not making all homelessness illegal. They're just trying to clean up downtown where most of the city's revenue is coming from, and a lot of this money's being put into to redo. You can still be homeless other places in the town. You can still go sleep places. They're giving them places to sleep. Like, they're not fining them if all the homeless shelters are filled.
Stretch, I got about 30 seconds for you to respond, then I want to go to break. How about we do this? Sean, I appreciate the phone call, and I'm sorry to cut you off. We're up against a hard break. We've got Andre on the line. We've got Kay. We got Gary. And we have two phone lines open at 257-5396. I want to give you ample time to be able to respond to what Sean said. Sean saying, hey, they're not trying to arrest every single homeless person, just some homeless people that are downtown. I know you have a response to that. Minister Stretch Sanders is joining us in studio. The number to call is 257-5396. Again, that number is 702-257-5396. Now, we are going to get to your phone calls when we come back, but we also have a breaking news story that I know Stretch has an opinion on, and that is George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman, the man who shot and killed Trayvon Martin, claiming self-defense. Years later now, this happened, 10 years ago, 8 years ago? Now George Zimmerman is suing the Trayvon Martin family and others. You're not going to believe for how much. And we have the story for you, and we're going to talk about that when we come back, and we will also get to your phone calls. I promise I will get to all of you. Phone lines are jam-packed right now. I have one phone line open, 257-5396. Get to all your calls when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back to the Vegas Take. We just had some sound there of Donald Trump we wanted to play for you jumping on Air Force One. Welcome back to the show. Chris Wynn also joining us in studio. And we have the minister, Stretch Sanders, here talking about the homeless ordinance and the fact that he is planning on protesting and shutting down Fremont Street on MLK Day. We're going to take a few more phone calls, and then we're going to move on to this ridiculous and crazy and wild George Zimmerman story. We'll get to that in just a second. But Minister Stretch joining us. Let's go to Lauren real quick. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine. My comment is this. I think that the area that the minister is going to do the demonstration in is basically going to hurt the same people that are one paycheck away from being in the same situation as the people he's trying to serve now.
That's an interesting.
Traditionally,
Yeah, go ahead.
people, when they first start working in the hotels and gaming, they go to work downtown and then eventually are able to work their way out to the Strip.
No, listen, Lauren, your point is very well taken. In fact, I've said the exact same thing. So appreciate the phone call. Stretch, respond to that.
Well, Lauren, thank you for your response, your question. So the way I look at it is, let's be realistic. We're going to get in the street. We're going to set up tents. We're going to take up camp. In about 30 minutes, we will be handcuffed. So let's just be honest. Like, we're acting like we're going out there and they're gonna like realistically let us set up shop, watch Netflix. It's not gonna go down like that. The moment we step in that street, it's on. And so the clock is started. 30 minutes. We may get an hour depending on if we get the 2,000 we're looking for. We may get an hour. But if it's anything less than 50 of us in that street, we will be cuffed before we can blink.
Right.
So that 30 minutes won't hurt anybody. Now, is it going to hurt in the sense, are we going to back up some traffic, which that's the intent, which goes all the way to L.A.? Mm-hmm. Are we going to bring awareness? Will some people be late for work? Are we still going to tweak some things? Absolutely. And that's the point. It's not personal. But at the end of the day, I'm concerned about those who have to eat out of trash cans. I'm concerned about those who have to use socks for their sanitary napkins. I'm concerned with the poor. See, we get high, we forget those who are low. And when you get too above yourself, you start saying,
well, that's usually,
it's not gonna get everybody. It's only for downtown. It doesn't make it right.
It's a domino effect.
My whole point to Mayor Goodman is, you may be, once again, your heart may be in the right place. Mm-hmm. Mayor, how you going about it is wrong. If Mayor Goodman calls us to the table right now and she agrees to either amend the amendment or scratch it totally,
or start a conversation.
No, we gotta have some action. Because we've been talking for years. I want some action.
All right.
Amend the ban.
You would take a conversation with Mayor Goodman.
I will take a conversation, but that's not. I'm talking about calling a protest off.
No, I understand.
If she wants the protest, I'm not calling off for no conversation. If she want to call it off, the conversation needs to be,
and that is
I'm going to give you a 60-day amendment, mm-hmm. and let service providers and let organizations, let us come up with a plan to help you. I'm not trying to make her my enemy.
No, I understand.
What I'm doing is I have to stand with those who are poor. That's my obligation
Point
as a
taken.
minister.
We understand
and so
that.
how I go about it, it is what it is.
No,
I got to do what's right.
I understand your position on that. 257-5396. Let's go to Kay. Kay, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
What's up, Kay?
Good morning. I just had a couple of quick points. The first is that the Ninth Circuit has already taken up this issue and ruled that if a city cannot provide housing for all of its residents, then it's unconstitutional to make it illegal to sleep on the street. So that's something that you guys want to take to Ms. Carolyn Goodman. My second, there's something that has to be done about homeless. And my problem and issue is when people call up and they say, well, these guys, they just want to, drink and get high. Nobody demonizes the diabetic whose disease is actually behavioral, whereas if you just change your diet, you can reverse diabetes. That's completely an abs.
Hold on, Kay.
Wrong.
No.
Wrong
Kay.
thing to say, Kay.
Kay,
wrong thing to say.
No. Excuse me.
We have a diabetic in
Excuse me,
studio.
Kay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Kay. Pot her down. She has no idea what she's talking about.
We have an expert in studio.
I am a type 1 diabetic.
Yes.
I got diabetes when I was 6 years old. I take 4 shots a day. I can tell you right now, at 6 years old, it had absolutely nothing to do with my diet. Now, I appreciate your passion, but you are fact-checked, okay? I've been a diabetic for over 30 years, and at 6 years old, it had absolutely nothing to do with my diet. So would you like to retract your ignorant statement about diabetes?
Sir, you don't have to take it personal because you don't eat right.
No, you're a moron. No, Kay, pot her down. Don't hang up on her. Pot her down.
She's
Kay,
doubling down on ignorance.
Kay, you are an absolute you are an absolute imbecile, and you know nothing about diabetes. What you're talking about is type 2 diabetes. And yes, there are many people in society that do not eat right and that are obese that have gotten type 2 diabetes. I was a skinny little 6-year-old kid when I got diabetes. You know why I got it? Open up your ears. Because my grandfather got diabetes at a very young age also. You don't know what type 1 diabetes is. You have absolutely no idea what you are talking about. So I'm going to give you a second chance now, and I'm going to give you the respect. I don't know why. I'm going to give you the respect to retract what you just said. I've been a diabetic for over 30 years, and if you're talking about specifically type 1 diabetes, people don't necessarily get type 1 diabetes because they're not eating right. Would you like to retract what you just said? I will give you the chance to respond one more time. Go ahead.
First of all, you have no idea what it is that I do for a living.
I don't care what it is that you do for a living. That's academic.
If
No,
you wanna,
no. Answer the question.
You were using the word academic incorrectly, okay? First of all,
You're everything about this call you've said is incorrect. Would you like to retract your statement again? I've been a I've been a diabetic since I was 6 years old, you idiot.
The point is, and you talk every day about the crap diet that you use. Okay?
I got diabetes when I was 6 years old, you Nimrod. I got diabetes when I was 6 years old, you moron.
All right, calm down, Brian.
No, I'm not going to calm down. She has no idea what she's get lost.
Your face is getting very, very red right now.
She's talking about diet. I was 6 years old, you idiot. Are you saying?
Hey,
hold on.
JD, how do you think that retraction was going to go there when Brian asked for the retraction?
She actually tripled down like Trump would. That's kind of impressive.
Well, she's an idiot.
Let me respond.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Brian, you're a little emotional. Let you calm down a little bit.
A little stretch?
I've had diabetes for over 30 years, and she's trying to educate me.
She struck the wrong chord there.
I understand that, but
she's wrong. She's a moron.
But let me say this: I'm not a diabetic, but I will say this: there are people who have overturned diabetes by changing their diet.
No question.
Let me say that.
You can't do that with type 1 diabetes.
Okay. I'm not saying you can't.
Can I explain why?
I'm not saying you can't.
Can I explain why? Your pancreas, we're not talking about type 2 diabetes. We're talking about type 1.
I want to do 3 hours on diabetes. Let's go.
Do you not want me to explain this? What does that mean?
No,
what does that mean?
Please explain.
Thank
Brian.
you. If you're a type 1 diabetic, your pancreas does not work.
Okay.
It has stopped working. If you eat healthy and have salad and eat hummus every day, your pancreas isn't just going to start working again. That's not how it works. When your pancreas stops working, unless you get doctors to inject beta cells into your body, you're talking about something very different. And Kay was obviously ignorant to this.
I think that
we're talking about type 2 diabetes, not type 1.
I think that Kay was probably talking about type 2, and she used the term diabetes.
And she should have said that.
And so
she should have said that. That's all.
No,
all right,
and
we can change the subject.
And
now.
also, Kay mentioned that it's unconstitutional to, and that's very true. If you don't have, or if there's not enough homeless or enough rooms for the homeless, what the law that, or the ordinance that was passed is that if there is rooms in the shelters, then they can be arrested. If there's no room, then they can't be arrested. So to respond to Kay, that's actually part of this.
By the way,
ordinance.
I hope she is not a doctor, and I hope she is not in the medical field, because I would feel really bad for people that actually see her if she is in the medical field.
What I will say, going back to the gentleman before the last gentleman called, the original ordinance that we were told stated anywhere on the street.
Okay.
Then they later came out and said just downtown properties. That actually infuriated me even more.
No,
because now
they didn't even say they actually created a map and there's specific zones,
right,
and some are downtown and some aren't.
And so that upset me even more to know, which I already knew in my heart, it's a business deal. Once again, when are people going to be more important than profit? They're concerned about people coming in town and downtown flourishing like the Strip. I understand, but we're dealing with people. We're not dealing with roaches. I heard a lady in a meeting one time said there's an infestation on the Rainbow. If I would have came into that meeting late and closed my eyes, I would have thought they were talking about roaches. Using that type of language, even the word homeless itself has been weaponized to attack those. When you call them homeless, they don't have an identity nor a gender. They're not a person. Mm-hmm. They're a thing. So therefore, we have to completely redirect how we deal with that. And I think that just segues into how America treats oppressed people.
I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think saying that somebody is homeless to me makes me look down upon. I'm just talking to myself. No, for me it doesn't. It means they don't have shelter.
Well, why don't we call each other who have homes, what's the opposite of less? More. You've never called somebody a home more. Think about that. George Zimmerman, let's segue to him. Prime example of white supremacy, not caring.
He's not white
about.
Though.
He is white.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
George Zimmerman is not 100% Caucasian.
He has a white parent. He's white.
Okay, he's not 100% white.
He's benefiting.
He's half Hispanic.
But he's not getting Hispanic privileges. Okay, you can believe that. Zimmerman.
Let me set
that's
this
white
up.
privilege.
Since you brought up,
ain't no Hispanic last name Zimmerman.
Since you brought up Zimmerman, I was holding off on that. Let's talk about this real quickly, okay? And I have some opinions about the case, I think. But George Zimmerman is now suing the Trayvon Martin family and others for over $100 million. In this case, the lawsuit was filed, cites information in a documentary about the case that accuses the Martin family of engineering false testimony. Mm-hmm. The suit is seeking $100 million in damages, okay? Now, I'm going to try to be as brief as I can, and I want all you guys to chime in on this, okay? I don't believe George Zimmerman broke the law. Here's why I say that. Now, I think he's a moron. I think he should have never followed Trayvon Martin. Unfortunately, there's no law against that. Even though the 911 dispatcher said, we don't need you to follow him, there is nothing illegal about following somebody, and he had the right to carry. Now, with that being said, what appeared to happen is George Zimmerman panicked. I don't blame him for panicking. I wish he didn't start the physical altercation. All the evidence points to the fact that Zimmerman was attacked by Trayvon Martin. Now, if somebody is on top of me, now I would never follow somebody. Don't make no mistake about it. And if Zimmerman was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and went to jail for a few years or 10 years, I wouldn't feel bad for him. I want to make that very clear. But if you or anyone in this room, somebody that I didn't know, preferably, was on top of me, banging my head against the pavement and punching me in the face, I would be in fear for my life. And if I had a weapon on me, I would clearly take that weapon out and shoot that individual because it is self-defense. Do I agree with the way George Zimmerman went about it? Absolutely not. I wish he never followed that guy. He was a wannabe police officer. He is a scumbag. And the fact now that he is suing the family years after is disgusting. He is a disgusting human being. Did he break the law that night? I say no. What do you say?
I say that's insane. If I come into your home and you grab your pistol and shoot me, and then I say, I was defending myself. I'm in your home. How can you follow?
Unwelcome?
Yeah, of course.
You broke into a home.
He followed somebody.
It's not against the law, Stretch.
But to follow means that he was seeking to attack him.
How do you know
if I'm being followed, why you follow me? If I'm being
it's
followed,
clear why he was following him, because he thought he was suspicious.
Neighborhood watch is not the police. And
okay, so did he break the law?
And even with the police, he broke the law. Now, in Florida, they have a stand your ground law. So you're going by law, right? Legal don't mean right.
Forget about the stand your ground law for
Legal
a
doesn't
second.
make right.
Okay, but forget about the stand your ground for a second.
He attacked him.
Okay.
I don't believe for a second Trayvon Martin, this man is 100 pounds bigger than him.
That's not true,
George
though.
Zimmerman should have never followed him. He seeked the kill.
Okay,
That's what I mean about saying white privilege. If he was Hispanic, he'd be under the jail. That's white privilege. The last name Zimmerman, his father's white. His father paid for those lawyers. His father opened the doors for him to have that white privilege to do what white supremacy does, and that's to kill, steal, and destroy black men.
Okay, Stretch, but here's something you're failing to maybe understand here, and maybe I'm wrong on this one. They went after capital murder. They went after first-degree murder. If they had not gone after first-degree murder and they went after possibly involuntary manslaughter, he would be in jail right now. There was pressure on the prosecution. There was no, in my personal opinion, no premeditation that George Zimmerman woke up in the morning and said, I'm going to kill an innocent black kid today. Now, I hate to defend this guy, George Zimmerman. As I said it before, he is a scumbag, okay? But you're telling me that you disagree with the way Zimmerman went about it in following this kid, and you're right. I disagree with it, too. There is no law that he broke.
Wait.
And then you're talking about the evidence. Hold on, Chris. Let
me jump in here real quick after you're done.
Okay, and then you're talking about the evidence. All the evidence, the DNA evidence, there were two witnesses that saw a little bit of this brawl and this fight. Zimmerman was screaming out, help, help, help. And the evidence points to the fact that it was Trayvon Martin that went on top of George Zimmerman and was punching him and putting his face against the pavement, hence the gunshot wound and DNA evidence and all that other stuff. So I'm sorry to say that George Zimmerman started the physical altercation is not, in my opinion, is not correct.
Brian, I got to point this out, okay? You are absolutely harpooning your argument that the law was not broken that night by George Zimmerman. I'm going to tell you what. You just said that if they went after manslaughter or voluntary manslaughter, he'd be in jail right now.
Perhaps.
So that is an insinuation that what happened that night was illegal. What George Zimmerman did that night was illegal.
Okay.
You're destroying your argument that the law got broken that night.
Let me elaborate on why I say that, okay? The reason why I say he might have gotten involuntary manslaughter, it was because of all the pressure and the racial divide. I certainly think that was a part of it.
So he didn't commit manslaughter on that night, which was breaking the law?
Please tell me how he broke the law.
So why would he go to jail for manslaughter then?
Okay, then please tell me how he broke the law. All three of you guys.
George Zimmerman knew when he woke.
I think he broke the law by ignoring the request by the 911 operator not to follow the guy. You said that he decided not to do it. The actual 911 operator, by the way, this is the fact pattern. The actual 911 operator said, "Do stop following him. We don't need you to." You said we don't need him to follow him. They told him not to follow.
So I will say this, Brian. When he followed this guy, despite the fact he was told not to, he assumed
that is breaking the law. In my opinion,
it's not. Chris, it's not breaking the law, but it is definitely assuming a risk.
There is no law.
It is putting yourself in a situation to assume a risk.
Okay, perhaps.
And it's not unreasonable to possibly think that you could be assaulted or confronted by doing that, especially after someone tells you not to do that.
The 911 caller did tell Zimmerman to not follow him, but just because George Zimmerman did not comply with the 911 dispatcher does not mean that he broke the law, period. It's
George
simple.
Zimmerman, but the reality is George Zimmerman knew that him being part of a privileged community, him coming from a wealthy community, he knew he would get away with it. And that's exactly what happened. Him trying to sue for $100 million, it adds insult to injury. You know, I think that it's shameful that
we agree there.
I think that it's shameful that
Well, what's he suing for?
he even got off. Number one, he should have been buried under the jail. But once again, white supremacy, white America specifically, looks at black men as threats. Him walking down the street with a hoodie on and Skittles and a sweet tea.
He didn't do anything wrong. We all know that.
So that's what we have to
We all
focus
know
on.
that.
So George Zimmerman was completely out of pocket. And even if Trayvon Martin would have took his life, he would have been in the right. Why are you following somebody seeking to attack him? You
have to be in fear of your life.
You poke the bear,
to
you
do
get
that.
hit.
You have to
so
be
then
in fear of your
poke
life.
The bear, you poke the bear, and then you kill the bear, and then say self-defense. Why did you even attack him in the first place?
But he didn't attack him. You keep saying
why
that
did he
George...
follow him? What was his intention to follow him?
Okay, that's fine.
Why did he get out his vehicle?
Followed him.
If you're gonna be neighborhood watch, flashes the flashlight and walkie-talkie.
There's a large distinction between following someone and attacking someone.
I agree.
His following led to the attack. How you go from in your car to we scuffling and throwing hands?
Let's take some phone calls. What do you guys think out there? 257-5396. George Zimmerman now suing the family of Trayvon Martin. We all agree that's disgusting.
What is he suing for? Defamation?
Yeah, so fast forward to 2019. You guys are relitigating what happened in the incident.
So let's talk a little bit about that, and let's take some phone calls. Kevin, you're first up on the Vegas take about this. What do you make of this?
What's up, Kevin?
Yeah, guys, I like the analogy. First you poke the bear, then you wake the bear, then you shoot the bear. You call it self-defense. But, you know, it's just totally wrong. This guy should have been dealt with way back in the day by Trayvon's father. I totally think that the father should have handled this totally different. But honestly, you know, they've already pointed out that you're wrong because when the police tell you not to follow or not to pursue, if I were to say my car was stolen,
can I ask you a question?
Are you saying vigilante?
Okay,
are you saying vigilante justice by Trayvon's father? Is that what you're trying to say?
What do you mean Trayvon's father should have handled
we'll
this?
Leave that right there. Just leave that there. Like I said,
he's saying vigilante. His father should have taken him out.
You call it whatever you want. My whole thing is
we'll call it Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
What was that?
We'll call it Boondock Saints.
Right. Okay. So anyway, so the police, I find my truck is stolen. A few hours later, a friend of me, we see the truck. We begin to pursue the vehicle. We call 911. We can't give out the coordinates fast enough to where we're chasing the car. This car that we're chasing, and we're on 911, the officer tells us to not pursue, ends up in a 4-car pileup.
Okay, I understand the analogy you're making. Kevin, can I respond to that? First of all, let's be very clear here. It was not a police officer that told Zimmerman not to follow. It was a 911. Okay, yes, it was a 911 operator. Number two, there is nothing illegal about following a person. I hate to defend George Zimmerman. He's a scumbag. I wish this event never happened. I really do. If this guy was in jail, I wouldn't feel sorry for him one bit. All I'm trying to do is be logical here, and I understand there's a lot of emotion with this story, and I feel horrible for the Martin family. It's a terrible tragedy. That kid did not deserve to die. With that being said, George Zimmerman didn't break the law, and that's why it's so hard to convict somebody on capital murder.
But did he do the right thing?
More the law, but just to understand that this is just. I mean, it's like insult on top of injury. Now he's coming back.
I understand. Kevin, I agree. Kevin, I agree with you. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I hate to defend George Zimmerman.
Well, you don't have to defend him, though. Why are you defending him? You don't have to.
That's the thing. You say you hate to defend him.
You don't have to.
Well, here's what I am doing, Kevin. I am speaking of the facts. No, I am.
You don't have to.
I am speaking of the facts in the case. I'm saying personally, I wouldn't feel bad if the guy went to jail for the rest of his life. What I'm trying to say is it was not Capital One murder. He did not break the law.
And
evidence supported the fact that he did not break the law.
And we live in a nation of laws.
Okay, let's put it like this here.
When you break laws...
So you honestly feel that there were no laws broken?
Well, tell me then.
He murdered him. That's a law.
I'm just
it's not murder.
911 operator specifically told
That's
him
not
to not
Kevin. Kevin. That's not against the law.
Let's just finish the one last thing. So in the right-wing media, you guys portray this.
I am not in the right wing. Excuse me, Kevin. Kevin, you're calling me a right winger. Have you ever listened?
Not you. Not you. I'm saying the right-wing media.
Okay.
Try to just portray this child as a just terrible person, a bully,
well, that's wrong.
Ground and pound.
That's wrong.
Okay, but now my point is this was a child.
But the left-wing media also portrayed him as a saint.
not as a saint. He was just a child, man. He wasn't bothering anything.
Yeah.
He wasn't bothering anybody. He lived in the area.
Kevin,
Okay?
Kevin, here's what I want you to do.
And a borderline prophet.
Kevin, here's what I want you to do. Okay,
Oh,
we're gonna,
who's that? Who's that?
we're gonna, Kevin, I want you to call in tomorrow. I promise you, at the start of the show tomorrow, we are going to continue this discussion, Kevin, and I appreciate the phone call. Stretch, we only got about a minute left here. And boy, does time go by fast. I appreciate your passion with all these subjects, and I want you to be able to promote any of the great events that you have upcoming quickly. Unfortunately, we only have like 30
I just want to
seconds.
say that today makes 50 years of the assassination of Chairman Fred Hampton and Defense Captain Mark Clark. They were killed by the FBI. And so what happened then 50 years ago is still happening now. White supremacy is still taking us out. They called the Panthers a shootout. It was a shoot-in.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that this man didn't break a law because he followed them. So the same thing happens today. And so I hope that we look at history and that those who are against oppression can stand up and break it.
Stretch, well spoken, my friend. I love it when you come in studio,
Bless you guys.
and I appreciate it. We'll have you come in again next week. Coming up next, former NBA official Tim Donaghy. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.